The best in the business. Good morning, Stephen Roberts.
Hey, McGraw, good morning.
All right, let's talk. First of all, what was and I use this word loosely, what was the strategy behind Donald Trump picking Mike Pence?
Look, I think there was some strategic thinking behind it. First of all, it shores up Trump's reputation with the most conservative, ideological wing of the party. You got to remember, a lot of hardline conservatives have been always suspicious of Trump. He's never been a social warrior, never cared much about issues like abortion, same-sex marriage. If anything, he's been kind of a moderate heretic to the conservative right. So with Pence, you get a down-the-line, hardcore conservative, led the fight to defund Planned Parenthood, for example. Also, geography, I think, is part of it. That while Indiana itself not a particularly important state, the Middle West is very important. You're going to see, I think, Pence spend a great deal of time in Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Midwestern states that Trump thinks he has a chance to win. Downside, of course, is for every action in politics, there's a reaction. And if you shore up, using Pence, you shore up support among strong conservatives, you risk alienating or moderate voters, and particularly women. I mean, you look at our numbers this morning, McGraw, in the ABC poll. Trump is ahead among men by 8 points, but he's ahead but Clinton is ahead among women by 14 points. Pence becomes a poster child for the Republican war on women, and that is the downside of picking him.
So it seems like reaction to Mike Pence has been sort of a dud, right? I mean, there hasn't been. There's always been. And I know it's the vice presidential pick, so it's the secondary pick. But you go back to Sarah Palin, and you go back to some of the other ones. There's sort of a little buzz in the room. Here, it's sort of a dud.
Well, except on the far right. To be fair here, there's been very enthusiastic reaction among in the Tea Party world. And Mike Pence, who was very much, when he was in the House for 12 years, was very much a part, right at the center of this very conservative revolt among House Republicans. And he once said, I was Tea Party before Tea Party was cool. So in that sector of the party, I think the strategy, the hope for Republicans is it's that this group, which has been lukewarm toward Trump, many of whom were much more likely to favor Ted Cruz, for instance, that they'll come around, that Pence will be a sign that Trump really cares about their issues. But I think in the larger electorate, if you're talking about does this man help with suburban, moderate Republican women outside of St. Louis? The answer is he probably hurts.
Stephen Roberts, as you sit on the eve of the convention and you look at the list of speakers and the lineup, a very different look than what we have grown accustomed to in years past.
Well, yes, in part that's a reflection of the enormous splits in the Republican Party. Look, Donald Trump represented a triumph of these outside forces, not the conventional leaders. The Republican Party had historically almost always nominated the next in line. Sometimes they were called a royalist party, and if your name was not Bush or Dole or Reagan, do not apply. Romney, whose father had run for president. And so for a variety of reasons, a lot of the more traditional names, the more traditional forces in the party feel very alienated by Donald Trump. You start with the Bushes, who are not even going to be there and who have been very, very clear that they won't even vote for Donald Trump. You look at Mitt Romney, the last nominee of the party, has repeatedly called Trump unqualified to be president. So you've had a campaign that has shaken up this party far more deeply, McGraw, than it usually happens. Yeah, there are always rivalries. I mean, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton had some really nasty things to say about each other. But they quickly reunited, and of course Clinton joined the Obama administration. But I don't think you could expect Jeb Bush to be in a Donald Trump administration.
I heard somebody over the weekend, a far right-winger, say, hey, we had to swallow hard and accept a Bush, a Romney. Now it's our turn, so you guys need to swallow hard and accept our guy.
Well, I know that there's that thinking in the conservative wing of the Republican Party. The problem with that is it defies the laws of mathematics. Politics is about addition, not subtraction. It's about broadening the base of the party, not narrowing the party to a hardcore set of believers. And this struggle has been going on in the Republican Party for years, McGraw. You and I have talked about it. And the notion that you can somehow win general elections by paring back your appeal to the most ardent ideological factions is just, it defies mathematics, it defies political history. That's not the way politics works. And the Republican Party knows that. They did their own, quote, autopsy after the last election. And their conclusion was that with the Republican Party to prosper, after all, they had lost the popular vote in 5 out of 6 presidential elections. And the conclusion was the only way we could get back to a majority is by expanding the base of the party, not by driving people away. So this is an issue that has been at the core of the struggles within the Republican Party for a long time.
Stephen Roberts, the best in the business. Thanks for checking in. Have a good week.
Okay, pal. Bye-bye.
7:25 here, Big 550.